Welcome back to the next edition of Mindful Momentum podcast. It's my privilege and honor to welcome Dr. Akhtar Badshah to our podcast today. I got to know Akhtar many years ago when I interviewed for the Loan Executive Program at Microsoft, and he was one of the people who were interviewing me. And I was expecting a straightforward conversation about the role. And Akhtar, if you remember, you asked me kind of questions that go straight to the marrow, the questions about purpose, intention, what it meant to give, truly means to give. And that changed on how I look at viewing. It shaped my leadership in years to come. So it's great honor and privilege with which I welcome Dr. Akhtar Badshah here at the on our Mindful Momentum podcast.
Anu, I'm so delighted to be here. And again, the work that you're doing, the coaching that you're doing, the leadership development work that you're doing is just amazing. And I know that countless people have got help with the interventions and and the conversations you've had with people over the years. And the work that you did at the Microsoft Employee Giving Campaign as a loan exec was fantastic.
But I also want to talk about the work you did at Microsoft. The You led the Microsoft's global philanthropy and employee giving program, overseeing billions in community investments. And you helped shape one of the most successful corporate giving cultures in the world. Right? And since Microsoft, you founded the Catalytic Innovators Group. And that is an advisory practice helping organizations and individuals design strategies for sustainable social change. And now the Purpose Mindset, the second edition of Purpose Mindset has just come out. And also you have a podcast, Living with Purpose. And you also teach at UW. You are a professor at University of Washington, I believe both the campuses.
That's correct. That is correct.
Yeah. So my first question, Akhtar, is you have led philanthropy at one of the world's most influential companies and now shape purpose-driven leaders across sectors. When you look back at your own life, what experience first awakened your own sense of purpose?
I think, I get asked this question a lot, and I'm not necessarily sure I can pinpoint any particular point in time. But I think, growing up in India, you're kind of, and especially in Bombay, you live in this environment where you are literally living together with extreme poverty and extreme wealth.
Hmm. Hmm.
You are constantly interacting with it,
Hmm.
right? So there is no escaping that different people live differently,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? We had a street, on this tiny street, on the end of both streets were slums.
Hmm.
Next to the slum was this huge bungalow by one of the very well known actors.
Hmm.
Next to them was a bungalow of a producer. Then there were two apartments that were for middle class people. And then there was another bungalow on the other side, which was again some rich industrialist. And next to his wall was a slum where people were actually living in hovels. So you are not escaping this. Every time you're going in and out, you are living with all of these people at the same time. So you are essentially seeing this world continuously,
Hmm.
right? When you live in this country, and you can be in Kirkland, where I live, or Bellevue, and you can live most of your life and you not see poverty around you,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So the question is not about poverty. The question is about different people leading different lives.
Hmm.
And then you start deciding that how am I showing up? So those were, so it never was something that, I'm going to give back, I'm going to go into philanthropy. I actually trained as an architect.
Hmm. Hmm.
And my goal was to design tall buildings. Well, that never happened because life takes over and different doors opened for me, which I chose to enter.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the value, right? That, I mean, I could have said no to certain opportunities and just continued on my straight and narrow path, and it would be a very different conversation.
But you chose to see what you saw and you chose to enter those doors that opened up, because I believe a lot of people are living in Bombay and they see both hands, right? And everything in between, the extreme poverty and the extreme affluence and everything in between, and can choose to live life, a very affluent life without even wondering what's happening with the lives of others. So it was somewhere in your conscious. Was there something particular in there? I'm still on that
No, so
question, and
so
I'm
so
still.
so I think I would just say that architecture is a very interesting profession. Medicine is also a very interesting profession. Now, medicine much more, architecture less so, but architecture as a educational space, you are trained to do lots of different things. It's not just designing skyscrapers or bungalows for the rich. You're actually looking at low income housing. You're looking at revitalizing settlements. So we would go into these kachi abadis, these informal settlements, and talk to people and live with them to understand how we can make their lives better. What can we do to improve the environment? You would go on site visits into rural communities to look at how they were living and how you can actually make. So the profession, the education got us connected to these people, right? So as students we were very comfortable going into these environments and talking to them and living with them and eating with them, right? Whereas if you're a computer science graduate, you're not going out and you're sitting in a lab and just coding, and there is nothing that is actually taking you out unless you make an effort to go out, whereas we were, as part of our class, required to go out and do this work. So that kind of breaks down certain pretenses. For some, it does more. For others, it does less. It's not that, all architects behave this way. But so that to me was what kind of shaped me, that allowed me the comfort to go and speak to anybody in the way they wanted to be spoken.
Hmm. 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 So you connected. You somewhere, at a very personal level, you connected with them.
So one thing is, you can actually go in as a student and say, I know what to do. I'm this architecture student from this top university in India, and I'll come and make your lives better. Or you can go and say, tell me how you want your life to be better and what can we do. Two different ways of looking at it. And because we were taught by faculty and others to put on that other lens, it became a natural extension of how I started seeing the world.
That makes sense. And I'm glad you started to see it that way. Look at what you have created as a result. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but again, so I think that, teaching architecture, studying architecture, traveling around the world as an architect kind of gave me the ability to come into a philanthropy role with a far more empathy than just somebody else who was sitting here and say, I've got money, I'm going to give you money, do it my way. Versus Microsoft actually not dictating what needed to be done, but actually saying, how can we help you? And the giving campaign was run that way.
yeah. And what made it so successful when you were running it? It just, I know I was part of it just for 1 year, but I remember that experience as, you know, purpose driven. I mean, I was thinking of what's the right word there. Is that the right word? How was that? How would you describe that being run, that it changed the way even corporations, it became a blueprint on how corporations should do employee giving?
So I mean, I think it all goes back to Mary Gates, which is Bill Gates' mother, Bill Gates' father, you know, Gates Sr., Bill Newcomb, who was our first chief legal officer. And in my book, Purpose Mindset, I actually talk about that journey, right? Where Bill's parents were so engaged in the community that they got him to actually think about how the company and its employees can be engaged in the community. And Bill Newcomb, when he joined, he had come in as a lawyer who had done pro bono work in Bill Sr.'s office and actually had that training and essentially said that here are all these young people working day and night trying to create software to change the world, but they will establish roots in this community, they will get married in this community, they will have kids in this community, and we need to give them an opportunity to get engaged in the community. And if we created an employee giving program as a matching from Microsoft as an incentive, that would give them the ability to get out into the community and really start getting engaged. And it did take a while. I mean, in my book, Bill says that, he was very disappointed early on because people just wrote checks to their alma mater. Because it was the easiest thing to do. All of us know you graduate from a university, and even before the ink is dry on the diploma, they're asking you for money.
Yeah.
Right? So for people at Microsoft, says, okay, I'll write $10 and $10 will get matched. So I'll give 100 and $100 and it'll be $200 and I'm good. And Bill instead wanted it to go into the community, but it took a while.
Yeah.
It took sustained effort. It took a while for the team to start inviting people from the community on campus, and they created this month of October, which was the giving campaign, which was a sustained campaign, right, where you all as 5, 6, 8 employees from different divisions with different expertise gave 4 months of your life to run this, right? So it was run as a campaign. So it was an engine that was created. And then it became part of the DNA. Now you can't stop it,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a train that is running fast.
right? Now you can't stop it because that is the expectation. That's why people join Microsoft. That's why they stay there. That's why they come back from Amazon or other companies because they miss this. Right? And I say, okay, my work is the same. I thought it'd be different work, but it's the same. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just doing it for another company. I'm writing different code because it's different. But hey, I missed this part because it got me out into the community. Not everybody, but at least a third or half the people that I talk to when they go back to Microsoft, they give that as a reason.
And for sure, for me, Akhtar, it was the most instrumental experience of my, tenure at Microsoft. I have, in fact, talked about it often on how just, having these organizations come in, the nonprofits come in and talk about these causes opened up my eyes to all the different problems that exist. Sometimes we can be in our own bubble and we
Correct.
might be aware of some of the issues that are happening in the world around us, but there are others which was completely oblivious of.
No, that is exactly the case. And that's really what became the richness, right? So when you talk about purpose, for a lot of people, you know, some of the surveys that we've done, about a third of the people in almost any environment are driven by purpose because of the family that they grew up in, how they were exposed, and they only want to do purposeful work.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then there is a third that is basically saying, I am doing it for money.
Hmm.
I have to live a life, I have bills to pay, I want to live a certain, and work is work. It doesn't have to be completely what I want. And the other third are doing it because they want the status,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Now, what Microsoft did with the employee giving campaign, that it activated purpose as your secondary driver,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right? For those that were focused on their status and work and money and work, even they got engaged. And then that creates a whole different way in which, and the book, I interviewed so many of our employees, and they basically say that, when times got tough, this is what actually helped me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? I was struggling with my job, and then the giving campaign came and said, okay, I'm now enjoying it, and I will go back to my work.
Brings that higher meaning into the
Correct.
work.
And not every job gives you higher meaning. I mean, every task.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's the work that I do, is to really get people to think through how they articulate their purpose and how they show up with purpose in everything they do. That's the work that we do, is work with companies and groups to actually activate purpose, ignite purpose.
Yeah. I want to go there. I've been wanting to go to the purpose mindset. And purpose is a word which we hear a lot these days. How do you define it in a way that is real? I mean, there are all kinds of definitions. In my coaching world, I see it all the time. Every single coach will talk about it. But yours, I have seen your work and it's very real. But I want to know from you, how do you define it, and then how do organizations articulate it? So just going into that
Yeah.
realm of purpose mindset.
Yeah, I mean, today even ads say, they're selling some toothpaste and say it's purposeful.
Exactly.
But purpose has now become debased. Then in the last eight, at least 5 years. For me, the way I think about purpose, it's a mindset shift. We have been taught to live with a transactional mindset. We struggle, we study, we work hard so that we can have a job, a car, a house, a family, so we can be happy. But we are never happy. Right? So anybody that tells you that you can be happy is lying to you because they have no idea what they're talking about. Because the only way you can be happy for a period of time and get real high is go take a drug. And that's why people actually take it. Because it's a singular pursuit. It's not a collective pursuit. Right? So, how do we flip that narrative where you're actually starting with your why? Why do you exist? In Hindi, it can be your dharma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So, why do you exist?
Yeah.
You don't exist to make money.
Yeah.
You don't exist to have a family. You don't exist to start a company. That's the what and the how, but the why. So, what I do is to actually get people to start thinking about their strengths. What are you good at? Right? You're good at something.
Yeah.
But what we've been trained is to actually not worry about your strengths, worry about your weakness. If you ask Alka, my wife, I mean, you have a whole list of weaknesses. I'm not changing. So we decide, here are the three things you like about me, here are the three things I like about you, and let's just focus on that. Right? So as an individual, you can do that. So what are you good at? As a team, you can do that. What are we good at? Let's do more of that. And in doing so, you will actually change things that may be challenging. So, from an individual perspective, figure out your strengths, figure out your values, and use that to help you craft your purpose statement. But none of these things matter if you actually don't live it,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're just words on paper. So the point is that if you are actually showing up with your strengths and your values, then whatever you do will go beyond just having an impact on yourself, but to actually bringing value to the collective good, to the common good. So, how do you move from the focus on the self to the we, from the me to the we? And in doing so, what happens is that you actually start looking for contentment. Are you content? Right? Are you joyful? For me, joyfulness is a far more important word than happiness. Because you get joy with being with others. Right? You can be happy, I can be sad, we can be sitting in the same room and you would not even know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But joy you can only have with more than one person. So, how do we actually think about moving into the state of joyfulness? So, what happens is that once you've developed that mindset of purpose, then the band in which your emotions fluctuate becomes much more contained. So, you will be happy and you will be sad, and you will be happy and you will be sad, but it's going to be in a smaller spectrum. So, it's not these big swings which make you frustrated, make you angry. It doesn't mean you, of course, you will be angry at things, but then you get out of it much quicker.
Because you're grounded in your values and your strengths, and you're aware that you're operating from them. You got
Correct.
them, in front of you, and you feel aligned to those.
Correct. So we do these assessments for people and we kind of get them to actually articulate their strengths and their values and craft their purpose statement. Then we take them through a personality test and then we actually talk to them about what are they good at, what they should improve, how they should show up, what do they like showing up as. Now, if people incorporate that into different aspects of their life, then you start getting purpose. See, people think they're only going to get purpose from their work, but that's not what we should not be living just to work. We live for ourselves, we live for our family, we live in a community, we live through our faith, and we live through our work. And you can get purpose at different times through each of these places. Some people have figured it out much better, others have not.
So the more aligned we get in the different parts of our life, the more purposeful the life becomes.
So I also don't like to use the word align.
Yeah,
Because I
I
think
was wondering.
because alignment is always hard. See, that then says I've got to align.
Yeah,
I'm actually saying find connections.
connection. Because it's
Find
the
the
collective, it's the joy, right?
Yeah, so if you find a connection, right? So let's just say I like to walk. I didn't like to walk, but discovered that I like to walk. So I go out for a walk. And slowly, by going out to walk, I've actually now created a rhythm where I walk 5 miles every day, whatever the situation, wherever I can be. I can be sick, I can be on a plane, I can be in heat stroke, freezing temperatures, I will walk. Because that gives me energy. But I did not start off by saying I'm going to walk every day no matter what. There was no alignment. I just started making these connections. And then these connections became stronger and stronger and stronger. And now they're very strong. So they don't break. I might wake up and say, oh my God, it's pouring outside. Where am I going to go? I'll go, why are you going? One day it's okay. I'll still dress up. I'll put on my boots and I'll put on my jacket and I'll put on my raincoat and I'll put on my thing and I'll get a torch out and go because I haven't finished. That doesn't come because of alignment. It comes because I've made these connections over time that are now rooted in me. Right? So I want our listeners to actually think about that this is a journey.
Yeah, yeah.
The more you do, the more build small habits, these atomic habits, right? Small habits. And these small habits become stronger and stronger and stronger. Then they really become rich part of you. So when we do these workshops, we try and craft a purpose statement for a group, for a company, but your individual purpose and your organization's purpose might have no alignment, but you can find small areas of connection.
So
And if your manager can help you say, hey, for whatever you do, make sure these three things you do because that's where your connection is. Even if you don't do completely, do it. And do it on a regular basis because that then releases chemicals for you that makes you actually get joy. Right? And that then, over time, you actually say, hey, this is great. I get these opportunities. I agree. I'm doing this. I'm just a guy who's fixing code. But if within that you find some higher meaning, then that keeps you rooted. So if we seek alignment, then 90% of the people are going to leave.
because they'll be
Because they say, I have no alignment.
Yeah, there is none, so I'm going to leave.
Right?
Yeah,
But
it's
if
finding
that, then nobody would
connection.
hire me to run these workshops because I will just give them an excuse to leave.
Yeah, so it's a connection.
So the more important thing is not alignment because you'll never have alignment.
Yeah, yeah,
Even in your marriage, there is no alignment.
yeah.
There are connections, and those
Yes,
connections become stronger as years and years pass.
and that makes sense.
Right? Because I'm not trying to go change Alka the way what she wants to do and how she wants to behave and how she wants to show up. And same with me. But if we're aligned, then we like agree to dress the same way
Yeah,
and eat
and
the
maybe
same
you look
food.
like twins.
And even that is not going to happen. Right? So, so the point being that we are all individuals
Yes, yes.
and our own authenticity should come out.
Yeah, we are manifesting as individuals. You also talk a lot, Akhtar, about the collective. In your book, you talk about shifting from personal growth to collective impact. Then, how do, from a state of being purpose mindset, we move from that we centered contribution or from, me to the collective?
So, if you take Carol Dweck's work on growth mindset, right? I mean, she actually did this work on with kids, but we've all kind of adopted it and said we should have a growth mindset. But I think that what has happened with the growth mindset is that we've all become individual. It's become individualistic. I grow, I get a benefit, the company gets a benefit, I get a benefit, the company gets a benefit. So that's all I'm going to do. Now, cancer is the best example of a growth mindset. Cancer is unrestricted, right? It continues to grow. But purpose mindset, you actually introduce the trinity of the community. You grow, your work grows, your community grows. Your community benefits, your work benefits, you benefit. And then you can take any cycle, right? So you go from this duality between yourself and your work to yourself your community, and your work. You don't exist on your own, right? Unless you're one of those people who basically have just left the world and said, I'm gone. And there are people who do that incredibly well, right? I mean, we
Yeah,
know in India there are monks and there are sadhus, but even they convene at times.
yeah, yeah,
Even they come together in different environments, right? They have the melas and the Kumbh Mela and
yeah.
right? Because everybody needs certain social connections. So we exist as part of something.
Mm, mm,
So
mm,
that should be the center.
mm,
Am I doing something? If I go for a walk, am I just walking for myself or am I adding value?
mm, mm,
Right?
mm,
The argument is I'm walking for myself. But I smile at everybody that passes by.
mm,
And now people randomly smile at me
mm,
because they've kind of figured out that there is this crazy guy who walks around and smiles.
mm, mm,
So they smile at me.
mm, mm,
I don't know them. I've never asked them their name, nothing. They just smile.
mm.
And that changes the chemical flow in my brain and in their brain. Because now you suddenly feel that you are part of a collective.
Mm, mm.
That even though walking is a completely singular activity.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so these little acts, gestures, are what keep you grounded.
Mm, mm. This, shifting energy of the system.
Correct. Right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, there are times where, but I've now started. There was actually a lady who chased me down because I did not smile at her. And she said, "Why did you not smile at me today? Are you okay?"
She was worried.
And I was like, "I'm sorry, I was on a phone and I just missed, you know.
Yeah.
So the thing is that suddenly there is a community of people who you don't know, who you pass at random times,
Yeah, yeah,
and now over time they have actually become part of your tribe.
yeah, yeah.
Right? They see you, you see me. So the point is, are we seeing other people?
And that's the shift to the collective.
Exactly.
I want to go back to the connection. We talked about how connection is important, but we are in, high pressure systems, corporate systems. People have a lot of stress of, meeting the organizational metrics, and it's very hard sometimes to find the connection. I coach a lot of leaders, and there's a lot of frustration around how driven their work can get, that the some of the values are forgotten. The companies may even have values, but they're just posted on the walls. What does it look like to live with purpose within these
So
high
I mean, forget.
pressure corporate systems?
So I mean, I didn't forget the word purpose for a moment.
Yeah,
I think these people are sad people.
yeah,
I there is no such thing as pressure.
yeah.
Nobody is putting pressure on anybody. You're putting pressure on yourself. So
Hmm.
don't argue with me that I work in a high pressure environment. No, you don't have to. Nobody has to.
Hmm.
Nobody is asking you to. The more you do it, the more it is expected. So this nonsense of I'm in a high pressure environment. No, nobody cares about you, and the world is not going to stop if you don't exist.
Hmm. If you
That's a very
if you
simple
if,
thing.
if you die of a heart attack because you created so much stress, tomorrow the work will go on.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So we create this self-importance for ourselves that if I don't show up, I will not be seen as important. So I'm sorry. I am thank God I don't coach people individually because I'll just shout at them. No wonder you're in this space. You should live in this space. But taking that away, but see what happens is if we we can find small places, right, where community starts coming into play, then it will grow. Right? So people who are in high stress environments, and of course, people are in high stress environments. I'm not saying, but we've created ourselves. There is nobody saying, you know what, I'm just going to take a 5 minute nap. You're in your office, go shut yourself somewhere, go take a 5 minute nap. And that might do wonders for you. Or just walk to somebody else's table and say, let's go to, can I get you coffee? Right? And that person, yeah, sure, let's go. I'll also come with you. But these little actions that we used to normally do are now suddenly become calendarized. Okay, let's find time to have coffee. And then you say, okay, it's going to be 6 months because our calendars don't align. So it's these small actions, right? So now what I'm saying is that if you just did these little things once every other week or once a week, then it will become twice a week, then it become 3 times a week, then it will become a regular thing. Now you start building connections. Right? What did Microsoft do? Asked you to go volunteer. There are people who volunteer all the time because we created a carrot, an incentive.
Yeah.
Right? So why can't you create your own incentive to do something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So what I'm saying is that even in a high pressure environment like Microsoft, which you know, you know, everything is metric driven, sales driven. Yet there were people who are musicians, who are chefs, who are photographers, who are pet lovers, who are car collectors, and they created all these books and calendars for a cause, right? You were part of it. You've seen this. Thousands of people created this cookbook.
Yes. And the cats and dogs calendars.
Correct. The cats and dogs calendar, the car calendar.
Yeah.
These so the people that were playing music, poker tournaments, right? So people created these environments, right?
Yeah.
Because there was an incentive. But they were playing poker. They didn't come to just play poker because you set up a tournament.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that people do these things. It's just that some people feel constrained and feel that I should not. So how do you break them out and say, look, it's the world doesn't end with your work.
The other thing is what you said earlier, Akhtar, is the individualistic, how siloed and individualistic society it has become, where we are constantly caught in that cycle of, my performance, my bonus, my stock options, my merit increase, and just get caught in that loop to get out of that. Because if we got out of it to the collective, then we are not so drawn into just me, 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 me.
Yeah, and there is this, and we've created these false narratives in my mind, right? Be focused, be super focused, cut out the noise. And they give Steve Jobs as an example of how super focused he was, and he was able to cut out all the noise and he would just focus on the most important things. Yeah, I mean, he became wealthy, he became famous, he created a product, but is that the life you want to lead? Where at the end of the day, he died just because he didn't want to look after himself.
Yeah.
Right? So what's the point?
That's a good question. What's the point? What are we driving towards? Why are we doing what we are doing? What's our dharma? What brings us here? That,
So I'm not undermining, but I'm looking and saying that, if he had just stopped for a little bit
yeah.
and just focused on himself, he would be still with us and he would be doing some other wonderful products that we would have benefited from society. Right? So he's just one example who just worked himself to death.
Yeah. And we
And
lost him, lost that such a brilliant mind that young.
but so I feel that, which is not to say I don't work, but I treat this as a way that energizes me. But I do it in a way where I'm constantly doing things for other people. I've lived by this one simple rule: don't say no. It'll get you into trouble, but that's okay. Sometimes it's good trouble, sometimes it's bad trouble.
Do you overcome it though? And then
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
no?
I will not say no. I
But if
will.
you're saying yes, can it get too much?
No, but what is too much? What is too much?
I don't know. Will
No,
you
so
get
everybody
stressed?
has their own limits to what that too much is.
Yeah.
But I live with an intention that says, if somebody is going to call me up and say, can you give me 10 minutes of your time or half an hour of your time? I need your help. I want to do this. I will say yes.
I personally love that principle. That's why you are here on the podcast today.
Now, there are people who say, draw boundaries, say no. And for a lot of people, that works. For me, my whole life has only been because I said yes, I moved into different environments.
Yeah.
There was no business for me to go from architecture to what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Because I said yes, because somebody told me, hey, come help me do this. I have a podcast because somebody said, do a podcast and come, I'll help you do a podcast. And I did not want to do a podcast. Because it's a painful thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? So the book came out because somebody basically said, you should write a book. I've written other books, but I didn't want to write a book on purpose. And then somebody said, and I said, okay, fine. And here I am. My whole life is now focused on that.
Yeah. And why did you write the next version, which just came
Same,
out?
same thing. Some other person came and asked me, come, we'll do a book with you.
Nice.
And it was like, okay, like a, bullet in my head. I'm teaching 5 classes. I've got this, I've got that. I'm traveling. I'm doing, where do I have time to write a book? I said, okay, let's do it. And in that process, I discovered so many different people.
And wonderful stories.
And then so there is this thing, right? We live every day. We don't live one life. Like this saying that you have a life to lead. Actually, you have multiple lives to lead. Every single day is a new day. The day you die, that's a finality. You have one death, but you have multiple lives.
Yeah.
So live those multiple lives to its fullest.
I agree.
Then you will show up with your strengths, your values, your purpose. Now, some might get you money, some may not. Some might get you into trouble, some may not. Sometimes you go meet somebody and say, it was a complete waste of my time. That's fine.
Because you can start all over again the next day. You have
Exactly.
opportunity to start over.
And you wake up and go, I mean, so the issue is, now, of course, in different stages of life, you do it with different frequencies.
Yeah.
I understand that, right? I mean, there are times where you have to be a little bit more careful with your time, right? Because you have kids and you want to deal with your kids and you want to make sure that you have time for them. So there are different stages where things will change. But if you just follow the principle of show up for life, this is Bill Gates Sr.'s tiny little book. So show up for life. Say yes. It'll get you into trouble,
Yeah.
get you into good trouble, bad trouble. Because no is a finality.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
when I say yes, I open the door and a sliver of light comes through.
Yes.
When I say no, I just shut the door and it's over.
I
Then I
love it,
don't even know
Akhtar.
what was there on the other side.
Yeah. Say yes to life always. Yeah. That's beautiful. I
Now you
love
want
it.
to be careful, right? I mean, you really don't go with somebody and say yes to me, let's go murder somebody. I mean,
Within constraints. Let's put put guardrails and brackets
I mean,
around
there
it.
is, you've got to use some, right? I mean, okay, I'll come with you and go rob a bank. No, I mean,
I,
so
I, I
there is
got
a
this
limit.
lesson from Akhtar.
It's like, don't go wild with, what, I mean, of course, the point being, just because you say yes doesn't necessarily mean you will do everything for them, but you might actually give them the opportunity to listen. But this is really what I learned at Microsoft. I yeah, it's a counterintuitive thing because my job in Microsoft was to say no. That was my job. Anybody that walked into my door was asking me for money, and my job was to say no. The job of my team was to figure out who to say yes to. And they were very happy to go say yes to them. Everybody else they sent to me, so you say no to them. They made a t-shirt for me, Dr. No.
And then you say the philosophy of your life is to say yes. So how
So
did you do that?
my goal was that how do I say no and get them to hug me?
Yeah. Yeah. What do we agree on?
So I would work. It took me more time,
Yeah.
but I would talk to them. I would explain to them. I
Yeah.
would tell them how they can actually get some resources from Microsoft. Maybe we cannot write you check, but hey, if you know an employee, go do an employee giving campaign. You will actually raise a lot of money. Get somebody to volunteer for you. Hey, we can give you software. I can introduce to somebody else. I, this doesn't fit, but here is this company that actually does work in water, and I can make an introduction. So that's a very different, but that took a lot of time.
But that's why everyone who would have interacted with you would remember you because I know this about you and I've heard about this about you. That everyone and anyone who interacts with you remembers you.
So that to me, so it takes work, right? So obviously my job was to say no. My job was to say no to Bill. My job was to say no to Steve, and I had to say it so they didn't fire me because they would call me up. Well, can be fun. No, they were obviously very, very careful, right? Say, hey, it's your decision, you know. But I had to go back to them. I said, okay, how are we going to say no? Right. So what's the yes? What do we tell them so that they can go tell somebody and say, this is how we can help you?
Still finding ways of connection and helping even when the answer is no.
At least for that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because nobody that was asking Steve or Bell for resources directly were not very important people. Right? Otherwise, they didn't have access to them. And if I just said, just tell them no, it wouldn't help. Right? So that training got me far more into this space of we can actually say yes and bring value even though we are saying no. Now that requires work. That requires work. That requires the ability to actually make connections. It only comes about because you have enough connections where you can actually push people to.
So, when we are looking at organizations and cultures today, what's one of the challenges that you see that's that bothers you?
I think
Now you're on the outside.
I think the I think we are putting so there are two things that are happening. We are trying to get people to we box people into spaces. This is how you should function. This is how you should show up. Instead of actually understanding how does somebody like to show up and allowing them to flourish in it. Now that with some constraints, of course. Right? I mean, work is a professional environment. You don't just show up any which way you want. But we also should not box them into one way of thinking and one way of looking and one way of doing work. And in this day and age where technology is increasingly driving us into singular ways of doing things, humanity cannot just function with just one tight, restrained way of doing things. So if organizations and people actually say, yes, technology is bringing us this value, but our individuality will actually enhance it, and companies and groups and organizations actually work towards that, then I think you are making a world that will flourish. I had a guest on my podcast the other day, and he taught me something that was actually very interesting. I've written a book on sustainable environments. I talk about sustainability. We talk about sustainability. I said I don't like to use the word sustainable at all. Because sustain means stay where you are. Instead, he likes to use a society in which we all flourish. So flourishing, I thought, was just an absolutely incredible word. He also was actually a very fascinating guy. Like we all talk about work-life balance. Do you understand how hard balancing is? Just the fact of you are in balance is one of the most difficult things because you cannot be focused on anything else except balancing. It's a tightrope. That's what gymnasts do.
Yeah, it probably creates more stress when you're balancing. Every single nerve is just like
Yeah.
stress to balance that. Even when you're
So,
balancing on one foot, just even taking that physical,
correct.
analogy of that, how difficult
So,
is that?
so instead of being balanced, why can't you be unbalanced?
Yeah.
Right? So we kind of talk about how many our life should be. No, our life should be unbalanced. Then you're far more free because you're flourishing. You can do this, you can do that, you can go here, you can come there.
Don't put those restraints on yourself, and you don't define that this is work, this is life, this is. You don't compartmentalize life. Also, you just becomes a larger whole.
Correct. It's kind of become seamless.
Yeah.
Like things intervene, right? There are days you will get purpose from your work. There are days you might get purpose from your faith, if that's what you are. There are days you might get purpose from your work. We all have other talents, and we don't even showcase it till we think we are professionals in it.
And you yourself are a prime example of that. Look at your artwork behind you. You're such a great artist as well. And I bet you're finding your purpose on days from that as well.
Not enough, but yes. I mean, I have an unfinished canvas sitting right behind me.
Oh,
But
it's so beautiful.
but the point being that we are all have multiple skill sets.
Yeah.
There is this group, there's this Indian group now. These are all techie guys who have actually created a band,
Mm.
and it's called the Seattle Jammers. And every, the first Friday or the second Friday of every month they meet, and now a whole bunch of people show up to listen to them. But these are guys at Microsoft and Amazon, and I didn't know that they were musicians.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
I just looked down and said, some guy, coding somewhere. Now there is a whole different conversation you can have with them.
Did you attend one?
Yes, I mean, I keep, and these are people who have come into my class and taught, and
Wow.
and so what I'm trying to say is that we all have different lives,
Yes.
and we should get comfortable in leading that. And if you do that, then you will actually find more joy. You will be more grounded with your values. You will feel much more accomplished with your purpose driving you. And you will actually be much more creative with your strengths.
Mm. 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 We could talk on for hours and hours, Akhtar. It's just so fascinating to hear you speak, and your philosophy, your life. Your life is a canvas itself. It's so many experiences on it, and as you share those, I want to know more, but we'll have to stop here. I want to ask you on if how do people get engaged with you? How do they connect with purpose mindset? If they want to start, say, today, they get inspired listening to this podcast.
Reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Mm.
Send me an email, akhtarb@outlook.com.
And buy your book.
Yeah, I mean, you can go get it from the library. You don't have to buy it. This, just as an end note, there is this woman I talked to yesterday.
Yeah, yeah,
She sent me a note. She works at Amazon, and she said, "I'm really challenged with my life. Can I talk to you?"
yeah.
So I said, "How did you find me?" And she said, "I was on a cruise, and this was 6 months ago, and somebody talked about you and said you should go talk to him."
Wow.
And I'm like, "But I did talk to her, and I'm going to talk to her again."
Wow. 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 So
So LinkedIn works.
people can find you anywhere in the world, even on a cruise.
I know. But there you are.
Thank you, Akhtar. Thank you so much for this rich and generous conversation.
You're very welcome. Anu, take care. You do some amazing work.